Hello, Real Life Youth. My name is Hannah and I'm leading Real Life Youth today in our home. Today's video focuses on the story of Ruth. This is one of my favourite stories in the Bible and is actually a book all by itself. It's only 4 chapters, so in addition to the abridged version of the story that Simon's going to read, you might like to have a watch of the Bible Project video which summarises the story, or even have a read of the full book yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Simon and I'm going to be reading you the story of Ruth. In a place called Moab, there lived a nice family. Elimelech, his wife Naomi and their 2 sons moved there because there was more food there than where they used to live. After a while, Elimelech died, but Naomi wasn't alone. She still had 2 sons. Her sons got married, but after about 10 years they died too. At least Naomi still had her sons' wives to keep her company. Their names were Orpah and Ruth. Naomi called her sons' wives and told them, "I am going back to where I used to live, and I would like you also to go back to your family where you used to live. May God show you kindness as you have showed me." All the women cried and hugged each other because they were such good friends. Orpah didn't want to leave Naomi, but Naomi told her not to worry, she would be fine. So Orpah left to go back to her family. But no matter what Naomi said to Ruth, Ruth would not leave. "Don't ask me to leave. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your friends will be my friends, and your God will be my God." So Ruth and Naomi returned to Bethlehem together. It was a good thing Ruth went with Naomi, because Bethlehem was very far away, and Naomi couldn't have travelled all that way by herself. Ruth never complained and was a good friend to Naomi. She wasn't expecting anything in return, she just wanted to help. When they got to Bethlehem, Ruth needed to work so that they could eat. It was harvest time, so she worked in the fields, following behind the harvesters, and picked up any grain they had dropped. The owner of the field came by to greet the harvesters and noticed Ruth in the field. He asked one of the harvesters who she was. "She came back from Moab with Naomi, that's all I know." Lucky for Ruth, the owner of the field was Boaz. He was a kind man who believed in God. He had also been related to Elimelech, Naomi's husband that died. Boaz went to talk with Ruth. He said to her, "Don't go work in any other field, but stay here with the other servant girls. I will make sure you are safe, and whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars." When Ruth heard this, she bowed down to Boaz and asked, "Why are you being so nice to me? I'm not even from here." Boaz replied, "I know what you've done for Naomi. You left your family and moved to a place you've never been. May the Lord reward you for your kindness." Ruth thanked Boaz and continued with her work in the hot sun. Boaz even ordered his workers to drop extra barley so Ruth could have more for herself. Ruth took all the barley home and shared what she had with Naomi. And eventually Ruth married Boaz, and everyone was happy. They had a baby, and that baby was the grandfather of David, who was a very important man in the Bible. Did you know that Jesus came from this family line?
Hope is alive.
Hope is alive because he is alive. Ruth knew this, and so do I. And what can we learn from this story? Ruth put her hope in God when she refused to go back to her family and insisted on travelling with Naomi. She could have taken the easy option, but she trusted God. The Bible tells us that following Jesus is not always going to be the easy choice. And I'm sure that you have all found yourselves in situations when it would have been much easier to join in with others or walk away from something difficult. However, if we put our faith and hope in God, just like Ruth did, he will bring us through the difficult times. To many people in Bethlehem, Ruth would have seemed like a nobody. She was an outsider. Ruth and Naomi had moved back to Israel, but Ruth was not a Jew, and so she would have not been seen as part of God's family. And she was a widow. In those days, not having a husband meant that there was nobody to lead the family or provide for you. And this would have meant that Ruth and Naomi were really at the lowest rung of society. They didn't even know where they were going to get their food from. In order to feed them, Ruth took one of the worst jobs, picking up the grain that others had left over. But God didn't think she was a nobody. God rewarded Ruth for her faithfulness. He blessed her with a kind master who became her husband, and together they had a baby whose grandson, David, would go on to be one of the most important people in the Bible. David was a great king and a direct ancestor of Jesus. Do you ever feel like nobody sees you or that your actions go unnoticed? No matter who we are or how small we feel, God sees us and he knows us. He has a plan for us and he will help us to do great things in his name if we put our hope in him. For our craft this week, we're going to have a go at doing some food art to look like the wheat in the fields that Ruth would have gone and collected. So I've done one here with some cereal that you can see. You could have a go with cereal. Can you see that I've drawn on the shape of the wheat and then stuck on the cereal to look like the grain? Can you see I've also dropped some on the floor for Ruth to pick up? You could have a go like that, or you could use pasta and stick it on, or anything else you can find in your house that you think looks a little bit like wheat. Alternatively, if you don't want to do it with food, you could have a go at doodling some wheat. Maybe have a think about drawing some of the words that have drawn you in from the story, some of the things that you've remembered from listening to the story of Ruth. Maybe if you're in real life youth, you might want to have a bit of a doodle and draw some mandala patterns as you're doing it. My Keeping Hope Alive challenge for you this week, real life youth, is to get creative in the kitchen. We're very fortunate that we live in a country where food is easily available, not like Ruth, who had to go out and collect the scraps that others left behind. I love to cook and bake, and in particular when I'm feeling out of sorts or in need of a pick-me-up, concentrating on a recipe helps to take my mind away, but also to remember to thank God for all that he's provided in my life. This week, I would love to challenge you to bake or cook something for the people that you live with. Maybe you could bake a cake or some cookies, or you might even want to try getting involved in cooking lunch or dinner for everyone. We'd love to see and share your stories, so please share them on social media with the hashtag #RealLifeHopeIsAlive. Have a great week, Real Life Youth.